Greetings. Welcome to my Revit introduction video. This video is intended to be a kind of boot camp for Revit, just the top dozen things or so that you need to know before you actually get to drawing in Revit. So I'm just going to review a couple of key points, and we'll open up a project and take a tour around the interface. Okay, so number one, very important, you cannot save files back. So if you're probably used to AutoCAD, where we have between your house, perhaps where you work, where you go to school, you could always save files back. If somebody has a different version, you save files back and you can make it work all the time, basically. Revit, that's not an option. If you open a file at home, say, with a newer version than at school, you'll never be able to open that file again at school. Okay, so you have to be very aware of which version of the software you have, because you're locked into them when you open those files. Okay, where to get free software? So you just have to Google Autodesk free student software. You'll find that. That's quite straightforward. Okay, file types and instances. So here's a folder filled with Revit files, and these two have the same name. Barcelona Pavilion Floor Plan, RVT is our Revit file, and that's confirmed right there. And then this one is what we call an instance, or a backup file. So, confusingly, it's also actually a Revit file. In CAD, the file that you work from is a DWG file, and the backup file for it is a BAK file. So you can't mistake one for the other. In Revit, often people who are new to Revit can sometimes overlook this important fact and start opening up the instances or the backup files. And what's going to make this more confusing, or just kind of add to the clutter, is that these backup files are just going to continuously save. So if you're working for hours, you're going to find that you might have 24 instances all piled up. So what you want to do is save the last one, like I have here. Just pay attention to the time that it was created, and then trash all the other ones. So you want to save one backup file, the most recent one, but this is where you always return to work. All right, so really, unless something goes wrong and you lose work, or there's some sort of a problem, or this file gets corrupt, that's when you go back to this. Otherwise, you have no need to open these. And you can see that they are the same size, that the backup files are being created are the same size, so you don't want to store dozens of these, and they will pile up. Save the last one. Okay, that is what that says. So we are going through the review sheet here. Changing the background color. So let's see. Let's at least talk about first how to open one of these things. So Revit files are typically saved as projects. Families are another option. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then templates, opening up one. So let's start with opening up a blank template. So we're going to use the architectural basic views. We're not going to use the construction template, which comes with all these schedules and additional sheets. And then it says we could also go to Browse, and we'll find the default or the architectural one, but they also have a residential one that might be of interest to some people for some projects. And mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and structure. So let's just bring Revit up. So this is what we see when we first turn on Revit. So here, if we have an existing project, we could open it. So projects are right across the top here. So this is my Barcelona project that I was working on recently, so that's why we see it there. Otherwise, Revit comes with a couple sample projects, which we will open up one and look around it. Revit also has families. This is kind of akin to blocks in CAD. There's smaller pieces that build up, that comprise or make up projects. Walls and floors and roofs are just genuinely part of the project. But then families sometimes are specific pieces, like structural trusses that we see, furniture, things that get added into a project. Okay, so let's go with new. Let's just see what the options are. So here we see the construction template, and what I'm telling you to use for our purposes are architectural templates. Okay, we could also browse, and we'll see those other options there. So this jumps into here, and so we have a commercial one, we have a construction one we saw. electrical, mechanical, plumbing. So here's a residential one, structural analysis, and systems. So there's a little more buried back in there. The residential one might be of interest. Let's open up the architectural one first there. So it is creating a new project. And it comes populated, so I'll bring this up. We want to bring up our project browser and our property box. They came up by default here. I'll talk about how to get them if they don't come up. But then you can see over here the different views basically that this template is populated with. So very simple. There's a level 1, a level 2, a site plan, ceiling plans. There's nothing drawn yet. But these are all different views of the same piece. Here's the elevations. Comes with 2 elevations here, level 1 and level 2 at 10 feet apart. And down here, so there are these little boxes, and we'll get back and talk more about the project browser. But so there are no sheets, there are no schedules, no legends. There are some families, quite a few families here, and some groups. Okay, I'm just going to close that for a second and just show you what the construction template looks like. So let's go back to new. Let's open up the construction one. Okay, and then here again in the project browser, now we see that it is populated with many floor plans, over half a dozen ceiling plans. Different three-dimensional views have been created in this template. Elevations in place, schedules already in place, sheets already in place. So this is, let's just jump over to an elevation. So we saw 2 markers in the architectural one. Here we see at least a half a dozen. It's kind of too much of a good thing for our purposes. We don't really need all of this kind of stuff preloaded in. So that's why you want to make sure you go with an architectural template. Okay. Okay. Now let's open up a sample architecture project from the program and take a look at the interface. I'm going to flip back to the review sheet. So we discussed that. Now we're opening the sample project. 2 things I want to point out. Mine are opening up by default, and that's the property. Those a lot. You should always have them open. So the keyboard shortcut for the property box is PP, and for the project browser, we're going to go to the View tab and the User Interface button. All right, so here we are in the sample that opened up to a sheet. So PP as a keyboard shortcut that I'm typing right now, and that brings up our property box. Goes away, comes back, okay? So you want to have that open. And then the project browser. We said we were going to the View tab, the User Interface, and the project browser right here. Okay, you have to commit that one to memory on day 1. Super important. You need these 2 boxes. They do take up a lot of real estate on the screen, but they are very necessary. This is big difference between Revit and CAD. It involves a lot of dialog boxes, a lot of inputting information. It's not just about drawing. Okay, so let's just flip right back, keep me on track with this review. So we got these 2 guys open, and now we're just going to be flipping through. So this nice diagram here shows all of the different tabs across the top, and then next we have the general vocabulary. Okay, so I'm going to just move this aside. I'm just going to move this aside, and I'm going to have it on my other monitor while I use it as a cheat, and I'll just show you what things are called here. You could kind of flip between the 2. So this is called the application button, or the application menu. I call it the application button typically. So a lot of important things in here, all the big save as, new, all the different things to open. So we could start new project. That'll take us to where we were with the different templates. Open project, so this would be taking us to the existing. Of course, we have saving options. I mentioned this in the sheet as well. There's a lot of always in CAD too. All the Autodesk products, you always go down the application button, the options. There's often some interesting things in there. This one is, I always find very important to point out where the graphics are. So the background color right here, I turned it to a light gray just to kind of check that out, but I'm going to put it back to white. But some people, the screen can be bothersome for the eyes, so it's always good to know where this is, to where you could control the display of things. So now it just brought it out to white. That's typically what you have as a default, but if you like to dull it down a little bit, the gray is there. The quick access toolbar, that's this guy right across the top here. So we have our saving, opening, forward, back up, and some other big tools. We'll be coming back and taking a closer look at that. This is called the ribbon across the top. That's what the next graphic was for. So architecture tab, structure tab, systems tab. So we'll get a quick tour of that afterwards. And then this is the context. So when we're in architecture, these are the different things that we could do. These are different panels. So this is the build panel in the architecture tab. This is the import panel in the insert tab. Okay. So we have our property box here. This is called a type selector. So a lot of what's available is really contingent on what view you're in, and we're just sitting here in a sheet, so certain things are not going to be I'm not allowed to build walls, for instance, here on the cover page. So if I open up, let's go to the floor plan, and here's a floor plan, and now I'm allowed to build walls. So now that this menu has opened up, and if I select wall as if I were to build a wall, then we come back here to the type selector, and now it's been populated with walls. So once and I'm just hitting escape to get out of that command, and then if I want to put a door into this building, now all of a sudden the type selector is populated with multiple doors. Okay, so this, again, very different. I'm going to jump back and compare it to CAD from time to time. It's a a reference point that most of us have. This is very different. It's not just about drawing. It's kind of about boxes and dialogue boxes kind of just unfolding one after the other often. And this is our properties palette, similar to CAD, a very important place to be. So let's open up a 3D view of this guy so I can take a look at what I'm selecting. So I'm just zooming in here. Looks like I got a wall here. Select that existing wall, and here in the properties it's telling me that it's a SIPS panel wall. It's telling me all sorts of information about where this wall, where it was built, basically, per the elevations. That it starts down on level 2. It has an offset here, 500 something. I imagine that's in metrics, and then it goes up to the roof. And so every stick and brick that makes up this model has tons of important information associated with it, and this is where you will find that. Okay, and then also a context menu is important. So when we right click, whenever we select an object and then we right click, it brings up what's called a context menu. So this is all stuff that you're allowed to do relative to the object that you have selected. Different types of programs, and this is true of all programs. Different tools, different things to do based on your selection. Okay, and then the project browser is the kind of the home base for all of the different views of this project. So we have floor plans. So now we have so these are 3D views. So this is just the default. Let's take a look at the 3D view inside the kitchen. Okay, got us in there. So cameras get set, and you could have specific views. We have elevations. Let's take a look at an elevation as well. So some of those 3D ones are going to take a little longer to open, perhaps. So in the architecture template would not come populated with all of this, but it's very easy to add, of course. So just because it's here doesn't mean we need to start with the construction one that we saw. So nice elevation there. We have our column lines up top. So there's sections, detail views, renderings. Let's take a look at a rendering. Very nice. and then so the sheets are all set, schedules, planting schedule even. Take a glance at that. So even all the different trees that are showing up. Lots of great information buried in here. Okay, so that's a quick look around the interface. Okay, I did want to take a quick look at these different tabs. Before I do, let me just mention, so I've been opening up these views here, and if I come up here to this this quick access menu up here, this one here, close hidden views, but then next to it, sometimes you have to extend. Maybe it depends on your monitor size. There could be other toolbars that are hidden up here, and this one here, switch window. This could be important to be aware of. So these are all the different views that I opened. So I opened a front yard view, an east elevation, a building section, and a planting schedule. Let me just jump down here, and I'm holding down the control button, and I'm hitting the tab button. And this is how I typically do it. In whatever I'm working in, CAD or Revit, I just quickly scroll through things here. But inevitably, especially when you're new to Revit, you could end up just opening up way too many things. So this is really, really important to manage, to make your life, to make your work more efficient and not give you a headache, basically, and just cause confusion. And it's going to take a little getting used to, but you think back to like very basic drafting projects, it's really just about moving information from, say, the plan to the section to the elevation. You have to think about it in that same simple manner when it comes to Revit. Otherwise, you're just going to be creating confusion for yourself and frustration. So it's a really, really important thing to pay attention to. So often when drawing, one floor plan, one 3D view, and elevations, if you're working on the outside of the building, yes, but otherwise I always have sections, and a section open in the area. A rendering, if you're maybe working on renderings, but not even really. It's really, you want to have about 3 or 4 drawings open, really no more than that. So where are we going here? Not opening for me. So what I'm going to do here is just give it the close hidden windows. So sometimes, and now if I come back down and I control, they are open. I'm sorry. All right, so something was wrong there. Okay, I don't know. I was kind of locked into something for some reason. Here are the 4, and I could switch to them this way, which I was saying that's not what I do. But now what I'm going to do is hit the close hidden windows button, and now it's off, and now there are no other views. It closed everything. So kind of humorously, at times working with students, I've come here and I've seen literally like 18 drawings open, and it's just chaos. So don't just get in the habit of paying attention and only having open what you need. Pay attention to where you're working in the building, and you just need that floor plan, ceiling plan if you're looking up, etc. Okay. All right. So now let's get back. Let's just open up a floor plan. Because floor plans typically make most of this stuff available here. So running across these tabs at the top. So we'll spend most of our time in the architecture tab. So we have our walls, doors, windows, curtain wall systems, roofs, all the different components. And again, these are the panels. So that's all under build, under circulation. We have vertical circulation, drawing model lines, different from putting in components. This is more CAD-like kind of. Datum points, so this is where we will be setting, that's not where we'll set our elevations, but this is putting in grids, column grids. So then we have different structural, so if we're getting really into the structural elements, which we will not be doing in our early class, that's there. Systems, this all refers to mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. We see it look down the bottom there. Heating, fabrication, mechanical, plumbing, electrical. So we wouldn't really be spending any time there. Inserting files. So this is always very important. So we will be bringing in possibly CAD files, or if not, image files. Okay. Annotation, we probably will not get to too much at the very beginning, but this is basically where annotation is all the different signs and symbols and text and pieces like that. A lot of that annotation happens automatically in Revit, which is kind of nice. We will be getting a little bit into mass and site, with some site components and building topo surfaces. We will talk about views, the tools here. And we will dig into some of the management settings as well. Okay, and then modify. Whenever you're doing something, the modify panel opens up. And once you get into a tool, trying to add an element here, modify automatically opens up, and whatever is relevant, whatever you're allowed to do, and this whole panel will turn green, letting you know that you're in a tool. It kind of gets you really kind of in lockstep where you really kind of have to follow the direction of the tools that you've chosen in Revit. Okay, so that's a quick tour of that. Oh yes, some panels do have drop boxes. So here, for instance, this one's coming down, so walls dropping there, columns dropping, stairs. So some have options. So always look for those little triangles. Okay, let's talk about selecting objects. First, let's talk about navigating a little bit more. So with the clicking down and holding down with the wheel on the mouse, I am panning left and right. And I'm in my 3D model here, so whichever, my property browser, whichever one is bold, that's where I am, and it also confirms it here in the property box. So when I don't have any objects selected, the property that is being spoken about, if you will, is the view. And I could jump into level 1, and then this changes over to the floor plan, and it's telling us about the scale, and all of this information is specific to the floor plan. I jump back to 3D, you see what happens there. And if I select an object, then the property box populates with that information. All right, so getting back to holding down the wheel, moving back and forth here, and then holding down shift down in the wheel, and then I orbit. Okay, so that's how I move around. Moving up, and the model's moving down. Okay, and then for selecting, we generally want to zoom in. It's always a good thing. Then we select by just left clicking. One left click, that's easy. Escape will get us out of that. And then let's just get down near this door frame here. And now I'm coming over here, and I'm going to keep my mouse still right there, and we're going to look down at the bottom left here, and I'm holding my mouse still, and it says that we have doors, curtain wall, double doors, double glass doors right there. And now without moving my mouse, I'm going to hit the tab key, and now it's going to scroll through all these components that are piled up on each other. So here is the curtain wall itself. Here is a curtain wall mullion, 64 by 128 inch mullion. I don't know if that's in inches. Usually that sounds odd to me, that number. I'm not sure what that's referring to exactly. And then there's a shape handle, which is that's a Revit thing. That's not a real object in real life. So 4 different objects just by hovering right here. Okay, and then I select the one that I want, and it's telling me what I have here. It's telling me more about this wall. Okay, and then if I want to select more than one object, so I'm going to come over here, click, and then come over here, holding down the control key, and now I have multiple categories selected, is what it's telling me over there, so it can't give me any specific information. Okay. All right, so I want to come down here and take a look at a couple of different pieces. So this is on the view control bar. So one piece is the level of detail. This isn't going to matter so much too soon, I don't believe, but it will at times. So it's basically the model shows at either very little detail, medium detail, or very fine detail. So that's fine. That's medium. So I wasn't expecting anything to really change here. I just wanted to try it and make sure. But I've seen it at times, like in structural models, for instance, where if it's on coarse, it'll show a piece of timber as a single line. And then when you move it to fine, it becomes an actual three-dimensional timber. So this could be very important when it comes to how things are displaying. I don't go to it often, but it's important to be aware that it's down there because it could make a big difference at times. Next to that is the visual style. So this is very important. So if you're new to working in three-dimensional models, one of the challenges is going to be navigating and getting to, like, so I want to get to that bathtub, for instance, and do, move it or something. Getting inside there and moving around is, just navigating the whole model could be tricky. So here we have 6 different options for how this thing is going to display. So wireframe shows all of the different components, easy to see inside, and very, very fast to move. A little confusing, definitely at first, especially if it's not your model, if you didn't build it, but helpful. And you can see just how fast the computer's moving right now. Then let's move down to the next. So hidden line, that's kind of where we were. I find this to be useful and supposed to be key for when working with construction documents, but a little easier on the eye. Again, it depends, what you need to see, what you need to do. Next up, we have shaded. And this could help sometimes when it comes to for differentiating different levels and things. When then they add the shade, helping to make the volumes kind of stand out from each other a little better. Consistent colors, so now we're getting into it reflecting the materials, and maybe nothing has been applied to here. There should be some reflection of materials at this point, but that didn't seem to do much. And then when we get down to realistic and Raytrace, so I'm not even going to click on these right now and slow this down. This is going to show off the materials if they were applied, and Raytrace is actually going to render it while you're moving it. So that would be a burden on a lot of computers. You could either do quick renderings to see what your model's looking at, which is basically how I would recommend it, unless you have a really strong computer and you could jump into Raytrace, but I don't find much value in that myself. Okay, let's talk about isolating and hiding elements and categories. So let's select something. Let's select the roof. The whole roof there. And nope, we don't have it. Now we have it. There, it's confirmed there in the property box. So we can right click and we can come down here to hide in view. We can hide this particular element, or we can hide all roofs. Either place we could do that. So let us pick the element, and then that goes away. And this again all goes to speak of getting used to navigating three-dimensional models and moving around. Now we could get in here and get to that sink, for instance. So we could also come down here back to this toolbar, and here we have the light bulb icon, reveal hidden elements, and then we can click on that and it will go into this temporary reveal hidden elements mode, and then we could see our roof, we could select it, we could right click, and we could unhide this element, and then we could get out of that mode. So that's the little light box or light bulb. Again, we could select here, a little different. So here when we right click, once we have an element, any element selected, again that's the context menu. So we have hiding here. I don't see isolating here though. But if we come down here, we have that selected. We come down to these glasses. Here we could isolate the element and isolate the category. So if we isolate the category, we're turning off everything in the model except for the roofs. Could be handy. And then we can, well, then I would come right back here and we would reset. Same back to those sunglasses. Reset temporary hide or isolate. That brings us back to where we were. Okay, so those are very important to get to know. Those. Okay, so let's open up a file one more time from scratch. I'm just going to close these. Don't want to save anything. So let's just talk about the interface, but just get you into a file. So let's go File, New, Architectural Template. OK. So property box is the PP, the shortcut on the keyboard. Here's our project browser. We need that. That was View, Interface, Project Browser. We need that. So here's our level 1 floor plan. So let's just draw something. So let's come to Architecture, Wall, Wall, and we're not going to talk about any of this yet. Let's just start clicking. And it has these nice kind of intelligent guides, helps you lock in nice and square. I'm making my way over here, and it's showing me that dashed line. And there we have a set of walls. Then we could come to our east elevation, see where they landed. So they started at level 1, and then they shot up here for some reason. So if we select it, it's not connected to any top level. It's 20 feet tall is what we see there. And then we could come up here to the Quick Access Toolbar, drop that, and we could say Default 3D View. And that opens a view up right there. And then we again have our holding down the wheel, holding down Shift and the wheel, and we can move around. Okay. And I think that covered most of the interface and kind of getting started. I know it's a lot of information, and we will pick up where we left off here with drawing floors and walls very soon. Okay, thank you.